Welcome back, friends, to our Global Voices series, live streaming here from the middle of Washington, D.C. at the World Bank and IMF spring meetings. This is one of the most exciting times for us here at the World Bank. I'm Valerie Hickey. I work on environment issues. But during the spring meetings, we have thousands of people from the public sector, from the private sector, from communities come together to talk about solutions. Ending poverty is not easy. We can't do it alone. We need all the ideas we can get. We need all the change makers we can find. So we're very lucky this morning to be with Sir Peter Thomson, who's the UN Special Envoy for Oceans. Peter, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the program.
What is a UN Special Envoy for Oceans?
I'm the first one that has been appointed. It was a recognition that the ocean's health was in decline, is in decline, and that we had to take special measures as a multilateral system to ensure that that decline is reversed. And of course we have the Sustainable Development Goal 14, which is a universal goal that all 193 member states of the United Nations have signed up to. And that SDG 14 is the ocean's goal and has 10 targets. And if those 10 targets are met, and they go from everything from fishing to pollution to ocean acidification, if those 10 targets are met, by 2030, I firmly believe we will have reversed the cycle of decline of the ocean. So my job is to make sure that the implementation is happening, and I travel around the world from country to country. And I have to say I'm very encouraged by the way that countries are now engaging with ocean action.
Why do oceans matter? The UN was set up for international peace and security. What on earth does oceans have to do with that?
Bottom line is, if we don't have a healthy ocean, we won't have a healthy planet. And if we don't have a healthy planet, our existence on it is being placed in jeopardy. So don't imagine that the ocean is big enough to just endlessly take everything we throw at it. It's not. There's a tipping point, and we're very close to that.
It's quite incredible. I often find when we talk about oceans, people don't know some of the basic facts about how important it is to our economy, to our livelihoods. You're from a small island, from Fiji. I'm from a rather larger island, Ireland. But both of us, our oceans, our identity is so, our economies and identity are so locked up in the oceans.
Yes.
What does it mean coming from a small island developing state in particular?
Well, the fact that the ocean has so many challenges is very worrying for not just island states, but any coastal states. Because of the ocean warming, currents are changing, and also because of those changing temperatures, species are moving from their traditional habitats. So we don't fully understand what those changes will mean yet, but change is underway. So obviously, as coastal states and small island developing states, we have to keep a very close watch on that and perhaps take a leadership role in the world.
So I know one of the things we worry about at the World Bank when it comes to oceans is the issue of marine plastics, marine pollution, because we're seeing such an impact on coastal livelihoods, on fisheries, on health.
Yeah, and on marine animals.
And on marine animals, of course. What are you seeing countries doing? You said earlier you're being encouraged, you're seeing things that countries are doing, that there's leadership happening. What are you seeing?
Well, on plastics, I think this is the one thing where the global public has been, their imagination has been gripped. And I guess it's the visual images of beach litter and clogged up rivers and so on with the plastic. But of course it's much more pernicious than that. To start with, the microfibers, from our clothing, and also the bigger plastic when it's broken down. This you can't see. And that's actually the most worrying factor, because it's permeating the fundament from North Pole to South Pole, and from your beaches down to the Mariana Trench. And it's permeating the life in the ocean. So as people well know now, we are now eating microplastics when we're eating shellfish and fish. So the jury's still out on what the effect on human consumption will be, and indeed what the environment's dealing with that plastic is. But I can't see that it's going to be benign, that this virtually indestructible petrochemical product that we're putting into the environment and such unconscionable levels is going to be good for us. But let me just say that plastics has been like a banner at the leading the charge against pollution. But we have to think about other very important pollution factors like pesticides, fertilizer runoff,
mercury in fish that pregnant women are eating,
heavy metals. So that's sewage, and 60% of sewage in the world is still dumped into the environment untreated in any way.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we've been looking and really congratulating countries like Fiji, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean, who have started the process of banning single-use plastics.
Yeah.
But you're right, how do we go beyond that? How do we make sure that we can get at solid waste management better, that we can get at some of these other issues?
I like you, I really congratulate the countries that have taken the lead on that. You know, the list goes on. I see Tanzania just joined, Kenya's been there for a while, Rwanda's been there for a while, Samoa, Vanuatu. So small countries that are taking the lead on saying no single-use plastic bags, but that's only a fringe part of the plastic problem. So we've got to get down to using plastic for the right uses, the right kind of plastic, and we certainly don't need as much as we currently do. I think, and
it's incredible. Somebody told me the other day these two statistics which were mind-boggling. 1 million plastic bottles are bought every minute globally. 2 million plastic bags, single-use plastic bags are purchased every minute. Their lifetime use, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
These are numbers that are staggering. But as you said, it's not the only issue, and we're seeing so many more issues. What about fisheries, Peter? I mean, we've seen a decline in stocks. We've seen cascading losses in different stocks. We've seen 1 in 10 livelihoods are dependent on the ocean, many of those for fisheries. What are these people going to do as the fish stocks collapse? How can we help as a global community to make sure they get managed better so people aren't losing their livelihoods?
Well, change is a constant. And 100 years ago, we were riding around on horses in cities like this and had carriages and so on. So livelihoods had to change when we moved from horses to internal combustion engine. They're also going to change again as we move away from internal combustion engine. Fisheries is the same. There is a limit to how much hunting of wild stock we can do. In fact, fish are the only species that we still hunt for a large food source. We have to move to sustainable aquaculture. So the people like the old horse carriage drivers who were looking after the horses moved to new jobs, probably driving the buses and things like that. So it'll be the same in the fishing sector. Fishermen over time will be moving into new jobs. They'll be coastally located, obviously, and sustainable aquaculture is a very good example of what they might be doing in the future. And when you talk about sustainable aquaculture, you've got to be thinking in terms of real sustainability. So feeding the right species, not some top predator species, but feeding the right species with algae. And
the fish feed being one of the most important things people have to think about transforming.
And having multi-trophic aquaculture, so you're juxtaposing shellfish and seaweed with the fish being grown. So you've got operating ecosystems within your aquaculture. So I think that is the kind of future, plus land-based aquaculture as well. I really do believe that this is the way that we will get our protein in the future, because we have to stop eating as much red meat as we are.
No, and for sure there are enormous efficiencies to be found by moving oceanside, by moving down the trophic chain. We've been fascinated by how much seaweed is suddenly playing a role, not just in fish feed, in human feed, in things like vitamins, and thinking about biofuels.
Absolutely.
I mean, the ocean is really a mother in so many ways. It provides us with so many things that we haven't really taken seriously until now.
Absolutely right. Genetic resources of the ocean as well are just starting to be discovered.
It's quite incredible. So is all this covered under SDG 14?
Yes, in a sense, it is. We will obviously be reviewing that as we progress towards 2030, because some of those targets mature next year, actually. The marine protected areas one matures next year, 10% of the ocean to be in marine protected areas.
Have you seen progress there? We've seen some countries like Brazil go from next to nothing to over 12% in the space of 2 years.
I firmly believe we'll get to that 10% next year. We're going to have the UN Ocean Conference in June next year, and I firmly believe that by then we'll be at 10%. Of course, a lot of those MPAs are not of good enough quality, they're not governed well enough.
The issue of management versus paper parks, as they say.
So let's get to the 10%, let's then start addressing how do we better manage those marine protected areas. And by the way, 10% is not enough. I firmly believe we can get up to 30% by 2030, and there's a lot of movement in that direction at the moment. So marine protected areas is one. Harmful fisheries subsidies, another
Right.
one that matures next
Right.
year. That's another target of SDG 14. We're doing a lot of work with it, WTO there, good work being done in WTO on that. I do believe we'll get to that target as well. We've got to better manage our coastal ecosystems. That's the third target
For
that's
sure.
maturing.
Yeah.
And we have to stop illegal fishing. That's a fourth target that's maturing next year. So a lot of work on that. And I don't know if your viewers are familiar with what FAO calls the Port States Measures Agreement. That's the best hammer that we've got in our toolbox to stop illegal fishing. And we need that hammer because there's $23 billion worth of fish being stolen out of the ocean at the moment and ending up on our plates. You know, we're receivers of stolen goods, and that has to stop. And the Port States Measures Agreement is the best hammer we've got to do that, because it basically, once all countries have signed up to it,
Right.
there's nowhere for the illegal fish to be landed.
What's the role of technology in all of this in terms of traceability, in terms of helping ensure that even when everybody is ratified,
Yeah.
signed on to the port state measures, can actually happen?
There's huge movement on traceability, and I'm happy to say that all the way through the supply chain, people are coming on board there. So innovation is going to be huge on this. You know, mentioning innovation, I think a lot of people feel rather helpless in this day and age as they're starting to realize the enormity of the climate change challenge and the effect that that has on the ocean and so on. And that feeling of helplessness is not helpful, put it
Right.
that way.
Excellent, right.
I've been through that. You know, I went through that a couple of years ago, of that feeling of
Yeah,
helplessness. Look, I would say to people that feel that way, you know, we as a species have always innovated. Whenever we've got to a crisis situation, our best innovative abilities have come out. Why would humanity suddenly stop innovating when we get to this
Right.
greatest crisis
Right.
of all, right?
Right.
And our second most powerful attribute that we have, apart from innovation, is sharing. I mean, that's what civilization's based on. And so we've got to learn how to share better in these times of crisis.
So I think one of the things we're very excited about is that this upcoming COP25 that's going to be hosted in Chile with
Yeah.
Costa Rica, they're looking to see if they can put oceans seriously on the agenda and think through methodologies, particularly for capturing the benefits of blue carbon.
Yeah.
Is that something that you find exciting? Is that an innovation that's
Definitely. I mean,
beyond its-
natural-based solutions are a huge part of the way forward. You know, just have to think of the carbon sequestration of things like mangroves and sea mud, seagrass, and realize that, you know, these are actually 4 times more effective than land forests in storing carbon. But coming to Chile and that COP at the end of the year, you know, I was in Madrid this week at a Because the Ocean meeting. Because the Ocean is a group of countries, 39 of us, that trying to make everyone understand that the ocean problems and the climate problems are one thing. And so we've tried to get and I think have succeeded to get the ocean into all the climate work that's being done. So anyway, at this Because the Ocean meeting in Madrid that I was in this week, the president of COP25, Minister Schmidt from Chile,
Yes.
sent us a video, and she finished the video saying, and we want to see you all in Santiago in December at the Blue COP.
I love
So
it.
I thought when I saw that, well, we've come a long way, and it's fantastic that the president of the next COP is looking at through a blue lens. Of course, that includes not just the ocean, it's the cryosphere and coastal areas and so on.
Now, you know, it's incredible how much oceans has become part of the international agenda. And Peter, that's in large part thanks to you, and it's thanks to change makers like you who, whether it's through your seat at the UN, whether it was through your help building support and the coalition that got SDG 14 on the table, and then as president of the UN General Assembly, making sure it got implemented. And this is why we're here at the spring meetings, friends, is to bring leaders like Peter together with everybody else from countries, from companies, from communities, to share these lessons, to share excitement, to build more consensus and more coalition around finding solutions. And the oceans are one of the places we need to find solutions, because so go the oceans, so go our development, so go our future. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Come back, we'll have more change agents, more thought leaders. We're live from the World Bank spring meetings. Thank you very much.